In the final years of the Western Han Dynasty, rampant corruption and economic decline led to widespread hardship and social unrest. In 8 AD, the 200-year-old dynasty met its end. One Meng seized this opportunity to establish his own dynasty, the Qin. However, his social reforms failed and China descended further into turmoil. People grew nostalgic for the days of Han. This yearning for a Han sovereign saw insurgencies break out across the country, from Guangwu to Shandong, Jianghuai to Hebei. Warlords and peasant armies, mostly professing to be from the Liu clan, which had run the old dynasty, all wanted to make a claim for the Central Plains. But no one expected that a little-known newcomer, Liu Shou, was about to enter the stage of history. '23 AD was an eventful year. That spring, the rebel alliance in the south, led by the Green Forest Army, was growing stronger. It crowned the Liu clansman Liu Xun as Emperor Gunshe. Emperor Wan Meng of the Qin dynasty decided to use his considerably stronger army to eliminate this rebel alliance. While Gunshe's main force under Chancellor Yu Yan was besieging the city of Wancheng, Wan Meng dispatched 400,000 men to march down from Luoyang to the strategic town of Kunyang. There, the situation was critical. The small peasant army of 8,000 to 9,000 men knew they were no match for Wan Meng's much larger force. Its generals were planning to pull out in hopes of saving themselves.
就到公元1世纪时候呢，当时中国的人口已经达到了6000万，国土面积的话大约有660万平方公里。当时呢，就是虽然经过了西汉很多年的发展哈，当时的中国国力有很大的提升，经济实力有很大的增强，但是呢，它的这个军事后勤保障体系呢，仍然带有古典时代哈，尤其是农耕时代的一些军事特点，就是它还是仍然是主要依靠一个后方基地的转运哈，这种长距离的转运来进行补给。所以在这个时候呢，是不是有非常有效的后勤保障体系呢，就成为一个军事家在部署战略的时候哈一个非常重要的一个关键性的因素。
Liu Shou, aged only 29, was one of the generals in the rebel alliance. He happened to be leading an army of a few thousand men near Kunyang. The ruins of the city wall of ancient Kunyang, ground zero in the battle. Liu Shou, courtesy name Wen Shu, was born in Saiyang County, Nanyang Prefecture. He was in the 9th generation from Liu Bang, Emperor Gaozu of Han. But this bloodline counted for little when so many in the large Western Han clan could say the same. Liu Shou had been gentle and easygoing. In Chang'an, he had studied the classic of history. In 22 AD, he and his elder brother, Liu Yan, joined the rebel army in Nanyang. After the establishment of the Gunshe regime, Liu Shou was made a general. When he heard of Wan Meng's approaching army and its size, Liu Shou knew he had to retreat into Kunyang. His first task was to convince the defenders of the town that if they didn't want to perish, they had to unite. But the army leaders in Kunyang looked down on him for his bookish appearance. When their officers heard his advice, they were angry, saying General Liu would do well to be cautious with his words, at which he could only walk away with a smile. Wan Meng's army stretched for scores of kilometers. As it closed in on Kunyang from the north, the defenders were terrified. At their wits' end, they finally turned to Liu Shou. Liu Shou firstly urged them all to remain united. Then he proposed sending a small team out of the town to look for reinforcements. That night, under cover of darkness, Liu Shou himself and 13 men sneaked out of Kunyang. Rallying nearby troops, he personally led 3,000 men back to the town. Cutting through the siege lines, these do-or-die warriors made their way straight to the headquarters of the enemy general. With the enemy in disarray, other reinforcements seized their opportunity to strike. In Kunyang, the defenders heard the drums and commotion, and they too came to join the battle. The very heavens appeared to favor Liu Shou. At the critical moment, a storm broke with such violence that tiles were blown off rooftops and rain fell like a waterfall. Tens of thousands of Wang Meng's men were drowned. In what seemed a miracle, his vaunted million-man army was crushed. The Battle of Kunyang was a classic David and Goliath struggle. As its strategist, Liu Shou first displayed his blend of firmness and flexibility as a leader. He excelled at bringing round dissenters and uniting fractious allies. He demonstrated strategic foresight, excellent military leadership, and a fearless fighting spirit. He was a marvelously gifted leader.
昆阳之战，它是新朝末年王莽军与绿林军的一次决战，王莽军的主力被歼。在这次战役中，王莽政权和更始政权，它的力量对比发生了根本性的改变，加速了王莽政权的覆灭。这次战役呢，还使刘秀一战成名，为东汉王朝的建立呢奠定了基础。
After the victory at Kunyang, the Gunshe regime went on the offensive. Liu Shou's brother, Liu Yan, had captured Wancheng, the capital of Danyang. Emperor Gunshe now entered the city and made it his capital. Liu Shou was now famous, and Liu Yan even more so. Many felt that it was Liu Yan who deserved to be emperor. As Liu Yan's fame and support went on growing, Emperor Gunshe grew concerned. So, at the urging of certain military officers, he brought trumped-up charges against Liu Yan and had him put to death. Suddenly, Liu Shou found himself in great danger as well. Liu Shou once again did something that defied all expectations. He rushed to see Emperor Guangxi in Wancheng. There, he apologized to the emperor for his brother's supposed offense. He then kept to himself, showed no sign of grieving, and went about his daily life as usual. Seeing Liu Shou's reaction, Liu Yan's men decided to follow his example. So Liu Shou's move headed off potential turmoil in the rebel army. Liu Shou's willingness to withstand humiliation stirred up a sense of guilt in Emperor Gunshe, who was, after all, a fellow clansman. Not only did he spare Liu Shou, he promoted him and gave him the titles of Great General of Liberation from Captivity and Marquis of Valor and Integrity. In October 23 AD, the Gunshe army captured Chang'an. Wang Meng was killed, and after just 15 years, the Qing Dynasty was at an end. Meanwhile, Emperor Gunshe relocated the capital, first to Luoyang, and then in the following year to Chang'an. With his links to Han, he was widely acknowledged as the legitimate sovereign.
更始帝刘玄呢， 他是以西汉政权的这个继承者自居的，而西汉的首都是长安，不是洛阳，所以呢，刘玄他先进入了洛阳，很快他又到了长安，他把长安作为他的都城，的意思就是说，他想让大家看到，他既然是这个王朝的继承者，那么他理所当然就应该去这个西汉王朝的首都啊，把这个长安作为他的首都。他这样做，可以提高他这个行政权的合法性，可以这个维护他的正统性，也可以得到更多人的支持，所以他选择长安作为他的首都。
After the Gungshe army took Chang'an, the other peasant army, known as the Red Eyebrows, decided to pledge allegiance to the Gungshe regime. In this favorable climate, Emperor Gungshe tried to reclaim Han territory and unify China. When he dispatched envoys to establish regional authorities, Liu Shou finally got the opportunity that would prove to be a turning point in his life. In the winter of 23 AD, Emperor Gungshe dispatched Liu Shou with the rank of Great Commander to cross the Yellow River and boost the troops' morale in the north.
大司马他是全国最高军事长官，持节则意味着代表皇帝，具有生杀予夺的大权。大司马一职呢，源于秦朝的太尉，汉武帝的时候废太尉而置大司马。
Liu Shou's days of tiptoeing around Emperor Gungshe, following his brother's execution, were finally over. After keeping a low profile for months, he could develop his own military capacity, albeit in the emperor's name. He developed his power base in the region known as North of the Yellow River. It encompassed the then provinces of Ji, You, and Bing, corresponding to modern-day Hebei, Shanxi, Beijing, Tianjin, and so on. The plains of North China had become an important grain production area. They also had an immense population, and as a key military area, they produced quality weaponry and war horses. A nursery rhyme of the time said, "Peace depends on the red eyebrows. Victory belongs to the occupier north of the Yellow River." But things did not go smoothly for Liu Shou. Despite his high position, he didn't have many troops. He made great efforts to rally the local forces. But the strongman Wan Lung proved unwilling to submit to Emperor Gungshe. Declaring himself emperor in Handan, he even offered the right to tax 100,000 households as a reward for the capture of Liu Shou. In order to secure his power north of the Yellow River, Liu Shou ignored his true feelings and married Guo Shindong, a woman from the prominent Guo clan in Jinding. Through this political marriage, Liu Shou managed to secure the support of the local elites.
郭圣通，他的父亲是当地的豪强大族，他的母亲是真定国诸侯王的千金，他这个家族呢在当地是很有势力的，不管是经济上还是这个政治上都很优越。那么刘秀他到了河北发展势力，他和这样的豪强大族结成婚姻，有利于发展自己的势力。这么理解的话，那么这个婚姻更像是一桩政治性的婚姻。
Liu Shou also consolidated the troops of Yueyang and Shanggu counties, winning their full support. Yueyang and Shanggu were frontier counties defending China against Xiongnu invasion. Many elite cavalrymen were stationed there. Cavalry was the most mobile and effective force in the army. Cavalry from You would play a key role in Liu Shou's conquests. The ruins of the Han City Wall still stand in Handan. The original wall was 20 meters high. 6 meters of that is below today's ground level. In May 24 AD, Liu Shou's army captured Handan and eliminated Wanlong. Liu Shou now dominated north of the Yellow River. He was ready to advance southward to Heluo and challenge Emperor Guangwu. The site of the Qianchu altar in southern Gaoyi County, Hebei Province. Here in June 25 AD, Liu Shou held a ceremony to proclaim himself Emperor Guangwu of Han. He named the era of his reign Jianwu, establishing military power. The venue was chosen for convenience. The altar was temporary, and the ceremony was a simple one. As the auspicious words for his inauguration, Liu Shou optimistically chose world unification and blessings for all. He was still just 31. Across China, there were several other self-proclaimed emperors, the most prominent being Emperor Guangwu of Chang'an. If Liu Shou had had to fight it out with Guangwu, there is no knowing who would have come out on top. However, the balance was tipped in Liu Shou's favor by the red eyebrows. While Liu Shou had been building alliances, the Guangwu regime had sunk into corruption. Even after red eyebrows leaders such as Fan Chung had pledged their allegiance to him, Guangwu was unable to redeem the situation. His empty promises turned his allies into enemies. In the spring of 25 AD, the red eyebrows launched a sudden offensive. As a result, the Guangwu regime transferred troops away from its eastern defenses. For Liu Shou, this was a heaven-sent opportunity. He dispatched his general, Deng Yu, on an offensive westward. The army conquered the area east of the Yellow River, then crossed it to drive into the Guangzhou plain. Liu Shou himself besieged Luoyang. In September, the red eyebrows captured Chang'an, and the Guangwu regime collapsed, allowing Liu Shou's troops to take Luoyang without a fight. He then sent his army to pursue and surround the weakened red eyebrows, who had no choice but to surrender. Both of the two largest rebel forces of the period between the two Han dynasties had now been defeated.
实际上，赤眉军呢最开始就是势头大盛哈，他们是一路所向披靡，最后呢是直接打到关中，占领了关中地区，把当时在关中建立了更始政权的绿林军给赶跑了。实际上就是赤眉军，实际上他们最开始的势头是非常好的，他们一直差不多坚持了10年的时间，但是呢最后以失败而告终。我觉得赤眉军失败呢，它有多方面的因素，但是我觉得最重要的一个因素呢是他们缺乏一个长远的，尤其是统一全国的这样一种政治的战略目标，就是对征服之地呢，他就是打过了他就打过了，他没有对他进行有效的行政管辖，所以他处于一种流动作战的状态，所以他从来就没有建立一个稳固的一个后方基地。那跟他们相比较而言我觉得刘秀军呢就是完全是另外一个状态。就首先他们有一个要想征服全国统一全国，有确立的这样一个长远的战略目标，所以呢他的那个作战方式他是步步为营，打一个地方，然后他征服以后呢，他立马要进行有效的控制进行管辖，就一方面他要攻城略地，同时他进行有效的治理。
Luoyang was one of the most renowned cities of ancient China. The Chinese viewed it as being in the center of the world. It was the ideal location for the capital of a state or an empire. And in October 25 AD, Liu Shou made it the capital of his new dynasty. Because Luoyang was over 300 kilometers east of Chang'an, the dynasty came to be known as Eastern Han, or Later Han, to distinguish it from the old dynasty based in Chang'an. Liu Shou considered himself the legitimate successor of Han. He declared his intention to restore Han and its institutions. Yet, he did not make Chang'an his capital, as Emperor Guangwu had done only 2 years earlier. What prompted Liu Shou to prefer Luoyang?
看到的就是东汉洛阳城的这个北城墙， 这段陈情保存的还比较好。关于这个刘秀和洛阳城的关系，我们都知道，最初呢，他是在跟随更始君的时候就被刘玄派到的这个洛阳来修建这个洛阳城，就是准备作为都城来使用。当然到了刘秀光复汉室以后呢，正式建立这个汉室政权呢，东汉政权呢之后呢，以洛阳建都呢，主要还有几方面的原因。一个方面的原因呢，就是说，当时的洛阳呢是在这个整个的东方，刘秀呢，因为他是从南阳起军，然后在河北呢逐渐的作为他的根据地起家，他的势力从这里兴盛起来。这里离洛阳都不太远。再一个呢，以洛阳为都呢，它可以就是说统治整个东方这个地区域。当时的西汉长安城呢，绿林军和赤眉军的这个多次的劫掠、攻势建筑已被焚毁一空。
By 30 AD, or the 6th year of the Guangwu era, Liu Shou had basically eliminated all his rivals in the east. With Luoyang as the center, he had gained 4/5 of China, but his quest to unify the country was far from over. Guangwu Shu, who controlled the southwestern province of Yi, had declared himself emperor. He had ambitions of ruling all of China. To his north, Wei Ao ruled the Longyou region, and Dou Rung had a firm grip on Heshi in the far west. Heshi had been relatively peaceful. Dou Rung had built the region up militarily and on the civil side. On their own, none of these leaders was a match for Liu Shou. But if they decided to join forces, both the northwest and the southwest could break away. Guangwu itself would also come under serious threat. For Liu Shou, a new round of challenges lay ahead. Envoys traveled between power centers such as Tianshui, Chengdu, and Luoyang, all probing for their masters and trying to win each other over with their eloquence. They even engaged in vehement debates on the question of the mandate of heaven. It was as if time had been turned back to the days of the strategists of the warring states. One such envoy was Ma Yuan, who was dispatched by Wei Ao to spy out Luoyang. Ma Yuan realized it was inevitable that Liu Shou would unify China, and that the sensible course was to pledge allegiance to him. But Wei Ao clung to the dream of exclusive rule over his own dominions. Finally, to Liu Shou's dismay, Wei Ao decided to unite with Guangwu Shu's Chengjia regime to resist Han till the end. Liu Shou had repeatedly tried to win Wei Ao and Guangwu Shu over through peaceful means. Now the only resort was military action. Though an experienced commander, Liu Shou actually loathed warfare. He once sighed, saying, "With every campaign, the hair and beard turn grey." Years later, in 49 AD, there was an incident to do with a policy of Liu Shou's administration. The emperor dispatched Ma Yuan to quell a revolt by ethnic minorities in Wuling County. As he was doing so, his political rivals hurled false accusations at him. The emperor fell for them and ordered an investigation. Distressed by the probe, Ma Yuan passed away from illness while the investigation was still underway. This is a letter of notification sent by the magistrate of Juyan County in Zhangye Prefecture. Discovered in 1973 in the ruins of a border inspection post in Juyan, it reports that during a nomad invasion, an officer named Wang Ba was derelict in his duty. The striking thing is that the letter is from the 5th year of the Guangwu era.
根据史书记载哈，实际上河西地区就是窦融集团哈，实际上是在建武8年的时候，才正式纳入了东汉，就是光武帝刘秀政权的那个统辖之下。而整个陇右地区的话，它是在建武12年哈，才最终被征服。 但是从居延汉简里面出土的那个汉简的材料，我们可以看到呢，这时候出现了很早的光武帝的年号，就它有建武8年之前的年号，就早期的年号。那实际上这个时候呢，光武帝刘秀对于河西地区其实还没有实施有效的管辖。那在这个地区出现的建武年号就是它有非常深刻的一个含义，因为大家知道在古代采用某个皇帝的年号，实际上就是对他一个政权的认可。对了。
In Heyang County in Shanxi, there is a traditional string puppet troupe. Its members are skilled in every aspect of puppetry, from carving the puppets to working them. A few of their plays relate to the life of Emperor Guangwu, including the relationship between Liu Shou and Dou Rong. This drama illustrates the strategies that Emperor Guangwu adopted in dealing with Dou Rong and other rivals. Liu Shou hoped to reach a peace treaty with him in order to combine their forces for campaigns against third parties. Liu Shou extended an olive branch to Dou Rong, even before the war in the east had ended. Unlike Wei Ao and Gunsong Shu, Dou Rong realized the people's nostalgia and support for Han rule. Dou Rong promptly decided to send the troops that Liu Shou required. This made him instrumental in securing the southwest for Liu Shou. In 34 AD, Wei Ao's regime was wiped out. In 36 AD, the Han army under generals Wu Han and Sang Gung captured Chengdu and eliminated Gunsong Shu.
本身光武帝呢，这个氏他的确有是两蒋云集，这比如说吴汉呐、贾福啊、耿弇呐，这些呢都是最后被列入这个云台28将。本身呢，光武帝他是一个自己就是一个智者，是个战略家。比如史书中记载，他可以根据这个前方的这个列阵和这个战争前的准备情况，判断一场这个战争的胜负。
The turmoil had finally been resolved. Emperor Guangwu had accomplished his historic mission of restoring the imperial Han and unifying China.
王莽在建立新朝以后托孤改制，但是呢，新政它并没有解决严重的社会危机，反而引起了社会各阶层的强烈不满。人们怀念西汉初期政治清明、社会安定。 人民富足的一个治世局面，复兴汉室成为民心所向。刘秀呢，他就巧妙地利用了这种民心思汉的社会思潮，他借用儒生强华所献、慈服服中的谶言：“刘秀发兵捕不到，是以云集龙斗也，士其之计火为主”，作为他夺取政权的一个合法性依据。 从而成功地将民心思汉的社会思潮，变为支持他复兴汉室的一个重要力量。
The philosopher Wang Fuzhe said that unifying China was harder for Emperor Guangwu than it had been for Emperor Gaozu. The scholar Hao Jing commented, "With his assistance, he brought in an era of prosperity." The stories of the 28 generals of Yutai, also known as the 28 generals of the era of prosperity, are told to this day. As the founding generals of the later Han, they had made extraordinary contributions to the founding of the new dynasty and could rightly expect to be appointed to key positions. Yet, like the founding emperor of every new dynasty, Liu Shou had to face the thorny task of what to do with successful generals now that peace had come. When founding the Western Han Dynasty 2 centuries earlier, Liu Bang had blemished his record by executing distinguished officials such as Han Xin and Peng Yue simply to forestall any threat that they might present. Liu Shou took a completely different approach. He conferred peerages and handsome rewards on distinguished founding generals, as well as privileges such as honorary appointments and the right to attend the court with the emperor. However, with the exception of Yang Yu, Li Tung, and Jia Fu, the founding generals were excluded from government. These arrangements suited the generals, giving Liu Shou a free hand to implement his policies as he wished.
总体来讲，光武帝刘秀他对工程是一种什么态度呢？是敬而远之。所谓敬，就是对这些开国功臣呢，从这个经济上、政治上，包括这个个人名誉上，给他们尽可能给他们照顾和惠爱啊。所谓远呢，就是说让这些功臣们，在建国以后，不要再参与到国家管理事务当中，特别是国家管理中枢里面来，这样可以保全他们。不管怎么样，这个政策呢是得到了这个开国元勋们他们的理解和拥护，到最后君臣相安无事。我觉得这个翻检史书在历史上可以和光武帝刘秀相媲美的，只有宋朝的开国皇帝赵匡胤了。
Redeploying founding generals to make room for scholar officials was Emperor Guangwu's key personnel decision. It not only protected them from the perils of politics, but also discouraged any presumption on their part. Recruiting scholar officials meant attracting large numbers of elite scholars, including Confucians, to the bureaucracy. The great Confucian scholar Ouyang Shi was appointed chancellor, one of the 3 positions that brought a dukedom. Such eminence for a scholar was almost unprecedented.
推功臣而敬文吏呢，实际上是光武帝刘秀尤其是在东汉建立初期所采取的一个非常重要的一个措施。所谓推功臣呢，实际上简单的说呢，就是解除功臣的权利，让他们享受很高的一些荣誉地位给他们丰厚的一些俸禄的待遇，就是让他们架空他们的权利。那与此同时呢，治理这么庞大的国家，还需要一些懂得治国安民之术的一些文法立事的懂得文法立事的这样一些文官来承担。所以呢，这个时候呢，他同时采取另一个措施，就是敬文吏。推功臣而敬文吏的措施，实际上呢，把那个武官系统的基本上这个统治的体系就给解除了，完全就是实现了从一个武官系统到文官系统的一个转换，实际上也实现了从武功到文字的一个转换。所以这个推功臣而敬文吏呢，是一个标志性的一个措施。而光武帝的这一套就是用文官治国的这套制度对后世也产生了非常深刻的影响。
Liu Shou was fond of Confucian teachings. After the court sessions concluded, he would always discuss Confucian philosophies with officials. Prince Liu Zhuang reminded his father not to overexert himself, to which he replied, "I'm enjoying myself. I don't feel tired."
刘秀对儒学十分重视，还在战争期间呢，他就未及下车而先访儒雅。在东汉政权建立以后呢，他对儒学更加重视，他设立了5经博士，还在洛阳呢设立太学，用儒家的经典来教育世人。每次在退朝之后，他都与文武大臣讲论经学，而且呢还到太学里去讲论儒学，这就造成了东汉崇儒重儒的社会风气。
Liu Shou's political philosophy was ruling by virtue. To him, the most important part of governance was leading the people to do good, educating the masses, and discouraging outdated practices.
光武帝呢，统一天下以后，册官并县，虚之三公，未归台阁，这个事归台阁。这个他是用了很多一些很有才干的人，但是他对这些吏治呢非常严。 一旦呢就是这个位列上书台的这些官员，要是出了事儿，他也经常呢是把他弄到朝堂上，然后呢去鞭笞，所以对这个吏啊这个整治的非常严格。我想呢，可能是这个柔道治国啊是他的目的，铁腕治吏呢是一个手段。如果我们要理解这个手段和目的之间的这种关系，我们也就之间这个柔道治国和铁腕治吏之间的平衡了。
Biographies of Cruel Officials, a chapter in the book of later Han, records the doings of Dong Xuan, Fan Ye, and Li Zhang. It was uncommon for emperors to appoint cruel officials so early in a new dynasty. Equally uncommon is the fact that most of Liu Shou's cruel officials ended well. Emperor Guangwu's policy on officials continued into the reigns of Emperors Ming and Zheng. It produced the highest number of officials of integrity in the history of Eastern Han. These wooden slips were discovered in 1989 in an Eastern Han tomb in Hantan Hill in the Gansu city of Wuwei. Dated 19th year of the Zhenwu era, they record the system of land census under which officials had to survey and verify the ownership and extent of land holdings every May. Those found to have underreported land by 1.4 square kilometers or more would be sanctioned.
所谓夺田呢，就是国家重新这个丈量土地，然后统计人口。这样做的目的就是把那个之前豪强大家他们所隐藏的这个土地和人口，让他们把他们这个数字交出来，核实一下，让他们按照实际的这个土地和人口来交纳这个赋税，来承担这个赋役，只有这样做，才能保证这个国家正常的发展下去。
In the mid-Western Han dynasty, mismanagement had seen the country descend into chaos with increasing illegal hoarding of land. In the later Western Han, there was an alarming trend for the administration to lose control of the land and the population. But as a dwindling power, Western Han was unable to solve the problem. The ensuing Qing Dynasty also failed to come up with a solution. Its measures quickly fizzled out. For the Eastern Han regime, conducting a proper land census was a priority. Unless it tackled the problem of falsified land census data, it would face the same problems as Western Han. When Ouyang Shi had been in charge of the Runan prefecture, he had mismanaged the central government's land censuses and corruptly profited from them to the tune of tens of millions. Although he was now the chancellor, Emperor Guangwu still had him arrested for dereliction, fully intending to put him to death. On a chilly and ominous day in the winter of 39 AD, thousands of Confucian scholars knelt outside the Sma Gate in the southern palace in Luoyang, begging the imperial court to show mercy to Ouyang Shi. Some even shaved their heads and asked to be allowed to take Ouyang Shi's place. However, Emperor Guangwu, who had always shown respect and favor to Confucian scholars, flatly refused to pardon Ouyang Shi. This story is the most dramatic performance presented by Huyang County's string puppet troupe. The severing of the strings represents justice being served on Ouyang Shi. It was Emperor Guangwu's way of demonstrating his resolve to carry out proper land censuses and to crack down on corruption. The strict implementation of land censuses increased the amount of taxable land and conscriptable labor available to the government. Eastern Han began to enjoy peace and prosperity, with, as it was put, stock grazing freely and the city gates remaining open. In 57 AD, Emperor Guangwu died of illness in the front hall of the South Palace in Luoyang. His dying edict was that his funeral should be modest. He even indicated that he thought he had not made any contribution to the people's welfare. After his death, however, Yaoshou's achievements were highly praised. The Ming Dynasty philosopher Wang Fuzhe compared Yaoshou to Liu Bang, the founding emperor of Western Han. He even said the first and foremost conqueror of the world after the end of the Zhou dynasty was Guangwu. Emperor Taizu of the Song dynasty was the second. On the surface, Yaoshou restored the Han dynasty and made the nation prosper. But in reality, he was the founding emperor of the Eastern Han Empire, a pioneer who ushered in a new era in history.